Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Monday night, 8 p.m. The Online Darts Live Lounge returns. Myself, Phil Barth, Jack Garwood, and Dan Simpson and I are here to talk you through for the next couple of hours all things darts. Gentlemen, good evening. How are we doing?
Hello there.
All right. Yeah, very good. Busy weekend. I was at the cricket. It was amazing. But very good all round. Yeah, really good. How are you?
Yeah, all good, mate. All good. I'm a little bit tired, but look, we're all good. We're here. We're ready to rock and roll. As always, which is always a pleasure. I can tell you what, people were waiting for us to go live. I logged in around 10:02 to get stuff ready. We had 11 people waiting for the live lounge. That's mental.
Yeah, the chat room's busy already, isn't it? It's
yeah.
hectic.
Chat room is rammed. Nicholas is in. I'm going to star your question. We'll come to that shortly. Owen, how we doing? Del is in. Scott, Adam, Shelly is in. Carl from Darts Tracker. Good work at the weekend, buddy, for the stats for ITV. Daniel, Mark, Andrew. Charlie is in. Owen, how we doing? Bill, Stuart, Charlie, Caravan is in. Warren, Wim, how we doing, mate? Hope you are good. Dylan, Lendl is in. Anthony is in. Hope the trophy is home in one piece, buddy, and hope you're feeling better. Wayne, James, I tell you what, it is absolutely rammed. Don't worry, Dal, that is on the list. Darts broadcasting as a broader topic. We will cover that as well. Jonathan, good evening. But look, first of all, let's go straight to it. Let's go to the World Series of Darts finals. Look, I know a lot of people won't like this, but it is kind of kicked off the back end of the year. I know a lot of people would prefer it to be another tournament, but it's not. We are officially underway, gents. Silly season has started.
Major season, some are calling it, Philip.
Wow. Funny you should mention that, because before we get into the action...
Riyadh season.
Riyadh season isn't a season, it's all year round.
Riyadh season is a state of mind.
Look, is it a major? Isn't it a major? What is a major? What isn't a major? Your guess is as good as mine.
I think that you would drive yourself slowly mad trying to reason that. It's a TV title, and that's about all that you'll get everybody to agree on. It's a televised title, and lots of the PDC's titles aren't televised. They're certainly not televised on terrestrial television or free-to-air television. So therefore, it's a relatively big thing, or it should be a big thing, because it's a darts on the TV that anybody can watch because it's on Freeview. But does it carry the prestige of other things? Well, it's difficult when we had this debate, and we had it quite recently about the Masters and how people would qualify, and how it's not fair if it's just the top 32 and but there was a qualifier for this. Anyone could have played in it. So what's not major about it? If you can have a field of anyone, and you've got some, bonuses from elsewhere around the world and different tours, then why is it not a major? Why is it not important to win?
I wouldn't say it's not important to win. Look, a couple of the players did speak out about it, and they were asked, "Is it a major?" They were like, "No, it's a TV title."
Did any of those players win it?
Yeah.
I'd like to bet whoever won it would have considered it a major.
To be fair,
he doesn't give a crap.
He didn't class it as a major, because Luke said in a lot of interviews recently that he wants to win another major, and he was asked that, "Is this that other major?" And he said no. So
hang on, he hasn't won one yet.
Whoa, stop that.
He's the new Johnny Clayton, mate.
The Premier League.
He's the new Johnny Clayton.
That 80 grand that he won will probably
unranked television title assassin. That's what he is.
To be fair. Yeah, what's his? Where would he be in the order? Someone will know this off the top of their head in the chat room. I'm not even going to look it up and do the maths. Where would he be in the order of merit with his unranked PDC earnings?
What's the Premier League worth?
125, is it?
No, 300.
No? Is it that? Oh, Christ, yeah, of course. 125 is the runner-up, isn't it?
So that would be 647. What did he win at the weekend?
80.
80 grand.
727. He'd be fourth. He'd leapfrog Rob Cross.
There you go.
It's not bad, is it? Bob is in, one of our members. Great to have you in, mate, as always. Who else have we got in that we've missed? Well, before Flendel says, yep. Josh is in. How are we doing? Yeah, look, we'll come on to more of that in a minute, but I would like them to categorize stuff, not just TV titles, actually have a structure where perhaps you have the world's there, then 4 majors underneath it, and then everything else.
Well, surely the only way, realistically, if you were to rank events, then surely it's just the prize money dictates, doesn't it? Like, the prize money dictates what is and isn't important. If you're going to go and win 20 grand, that's not as important as winning a tournament that pays 80 grand. These are professionals.
Yeah. Is it 275? Oh, yeah, because I'm thinking of his nightly wins on top of that.
Still goes above Rob Cross.
Yeah. Evening. Jason Anthony is in from Texas. Hope you are good, mate. But look, let's dive into it. I forgot to set this up, so we'll do this on the fly. It might look odd for a minute, but we'll get there because we were chatting, having a wonderful time.
One job.
Right.
There we go.
So there is the draw bracket. First of all, let's start at the top and then let's work through. We're not going to go through every game, but let's pick out and let's talk about game number 1 there. Obviously, Luke has averaged a ton in everything, and there was some stunning performances which we'll come on to. But Ross Smith did miss 2 match starts. It could have been a very different weekend. I know if buts and maybes it wasn't, but Ross Smith is playing well at the moment and not getting results.
Yeah, it will be really frustrating that, because it's one thing to get a hide in, and then it's another to sort of get edged out. But I mean, he had that game done. Like, the game was over. He just he had the opportunity to move past. And then looking at what Luke Littler then had to beat, the averages that we saw from Barney and Dolby, whilst they both played well, like, Ross Smith would have been competitive in those games. And, Ross Smith could have, it was a real opportunity for him to go a lot deeper. And I think he'd be quite frustrated at that. I don't worry for him because I think his game is still at a very, very high level. It's just that real cutting edge of getting the job done, isn't it?
Yeah. So we'll talk more about Luke shortly. Barney absolutely battered Johan Ingstrom. The Dobie Vandenberg game was interesting. Look, Dimitri threw it away. The crowd got involved. And look, the crowd turned on Dimitri very, very early. Very early. And look, Mace is in the chat room as well. Obviously, he was there. From the walk-ons, Dimitri was getting booed, which was, look, I know we don't like it, but fans are now openly voicing their opinions on players, tactics, whatever you want to call it.
Well, it's not new, is it? Like, it's not new. It's not the first time that we've seen, we've been in a room when the crowd's turned on Dimmy, and there's only so many times. I was going to say, some of us might have turned with them.
I was leading a revolt from the back of the chairs, Dad.
So some of us might have turned with them. But there's only so many times that the crowd will turn mid-game. before they start to have already made their mind up. You know, once you get enough occasions of the crowd almost giving you their goodwill and then getting sick after so long and turning against you, then over time that will develop into them already having made their mind up about you before you've walked in the room. And I also don't know how much, and there'll be folk in the chat room that can probably shed some more light on this with a bit more knowledge than me, but I don't know whether there's some regional rivalry between Belgium and Holland and whether or not that's the same as us, you know, English fans singing Scotland get battered every time Peter Wright and Gary Anderson play. It doesn't mean they don't like them, it's just for the crack and banter. But I don't know how much of that is bleeding into it as well. But I do think the crowd's goodwill only extends so far, and once you've pissed them off enough times, they will make their mind up before you've even arrived at the venue.
And it's not like they don't have history in the Netherlands. The one time I've covered an event for OD abroad was a World Series event in the Netherlands before they renamed it the Benelux Masters to make some other bollocks agenda. But he won that event. I'm pretty sure he did.
He did, yeah. He did.
He wound the crowd up something rotten throughout the day. Obviously, he beat 3 Dutchmen along the way. It was very Dutch heavy from the first round. But B, they just did not take to his style at all.
Well, Wim's just said it there. I come from Holland, more against Germany. It's more Dimitri and his mindset. Yeah. So it's a Dimitri game and tactics. It's not a Holland-Belgium thing. But the 1-3-2 from Dobie to win it. Oh,
delicious.
The 1-3-2 is the best finish in the game. I'm not having it. I'm not having anything else. Boris Kirchmar then edges out Stephen Bunting. Look, a few concerns around Bunting's form at the moment. Look, I'm sure he'll put it right, but it's not the free-flowing Bunting that we'd seen early on in the year.
It's not.
Go on, mate.
It's not been the year, and I think I can speak for almost everyone in darts because we all expressed the same sort of things at the beginning of the year about Bunting, but it hasn't been the year anyone expected from him, has it? Like, I think a lot of people have expected a lot more from him, and he's just not quite delivered. You know, he didn't go on that deep run that I think people thought they might see from him at the World Championships. Second round exit at the match play. He hasn't backed up a promising year last year. You know, he had some huge, semi-final at the Slam, quarters at the Players' Championships, and it hasn't transferred into 2024 at all, I don't think.
No, I agree.
But because of where the concentration of majors are. He peaked at the wrong time of the season.
Possibly.
If there were more majors at the start of the year, TV ranked titles or so-and-so, would we have seen more from Bunting so far from when he was in good form? And as he
quite
the victim of the calendar to not be in such good form now that the majors are coming in?
Yeah, look, quite possibly.
Perhaps. He was all right at the UK Open, wasn't he? He had a little run there, but I just think we really seemed to get close. There was a feeling among darts fans that he was ready to kick on and really establish himself at the real top end of the sport. And I mean like top 6, top 8 and stick there. And we see him still hovering around outside the top 12 and he hasn't been able to make the same sort of progress as the likes of Damon Heta and Ross Smith. And, there was a time, 12 months ago that if you would have backed, I think, all day long, that 12 months from now, Bunting would be ahead of, Ross Smith, Heta, Dobie in the rankings. And he just hasn't bridged that gap and passed them.
Yeah, look, I'm sure it will come. Look, Luke Humphries, too good for Hopai Puhal. Gabriel Clements, Damon Heta, a good competitive game. That one enjoyed that. Went to a last legger. I'm not going to lie. Michael Van Galen against Johnny Clayton was an absolute stinker of a game from both of them. Less said about that one, the better. Danny Noppert played really well to beat Van Dien. Gerwyn Price, again, the Jacqueline Hyde Gerwyn Price. He was fabulous in beating Cameron Menzies. And then the drop-off in the evening was there to be seen. Look, Gazzy said on Instagram, he said a win's not far away, but again, it's fits and spells from Gerwin Price.
I think a win is far away because this is the same issue that Gezi was having when arguably he was in better form. He can't get through round 2. Go back and look at his last 18 months. He absolutely bashes people up round 1, and his round 2 has been dreadful. And he's made the same mistake here, and arguably he's not playing as well as he has been in the last 18 months. I sat there and stated that the Premier League format perhaps isn't for him, but he didn't play that badly this year, to give him his due.
No, he played well.
If you look around at everything else that he's done in the past 18 months, he has had an excellent round 1 in an awful lot of tournaments. Round 2, not good.
No, I agree. Bob, we will come on to that in a minute. Don't worry about that. That is one of the talking points. Daryl Gurney beat Dirk van Dijvenbode. Again, a really good game. But there was a little bit of panic for Daryl Gurney, but we'll touch on that a bit later on. We've got a clip from him. Peter Wright dismantled Dave Chisnell. And again, after seeing Dave play so well on the Euro Tour, again, are we disappointed with a 6-1 defeat, only averaging 87?
Part of it is, though, it's what we've sort of become used to seeing from him in those peaks and troughs. You know, the highs are very high and the lows are bang average. And that's what we see, or we're used to seeing a bit with Chizzy, is that level doesn't maintain for very long. And when he puts it together, his peaks are amazing, but it was very lackluster, very, very average.
Yeah. Rhys Griffin made his TV debut. Although it was a defeat to Jeff Smith, I thought he acquitted himself very, very well. Pleased for Rhys on TV debut that he's gone up there and given a good account of himself. Rob Cross batters again a very underwhelming Simon Whitlock, and we touched on it last week. I think that card's in danger because I don't see where wins are coming from Whitlock at the moment. He's only got a 6.25 buffer. I think that's in big danger.
You know, we've got World Series Tour players here, you know, players that we wouldn't normally see in elite television events. There's all sorts of different players turned up here, some of them with tour cards, some of them without tour cards. And Simon Whitlock has managed to post the worst performance of anybody. And that wouldn't be alarming if he'd been playing all right in fits and starts through the year. It is alarming when it's not really building a point. It's not a one-off. It's not a stinker. I think he is going to come under real pressure quite soon.
Yeah, 100%. Kevin Doots with an absolutely incredible performance. 6-0 in 9 minutes, averaging a shy under 110. Keane Barry hasn't played that bad and just got absolutely bagelled.
Just monster performance, wasn't it? Like averaging 110. There's virtually nothing you can do with it. It was just a special. It happens sometimes, isn't it? People just turn up and all the darts go where they want them to, and that's exactly what happened for Kevin Doots.
Yeah, 100%. Michael Smith survived against Jose de Souza. Arguably Jose's best performance on TV in a long, long time, but it wasn't enough for him. And then Wessel Nyman batters Andrew Gilding in round 1. Then round 2 obviously takes shape. Look, we'll breeze through a couple of these. Luke Littler-Barney, great game. Luke doing what he does. Dobie again, Kirchmar at this point, it's just raining 100 averages and raining 180s as well. Luke Humphreys averaging 106 to beat Damon Hetter in a last leg decider. Sensation. Yes, Rob, Doots, there it is the best chant around. That's an incredible chant from the Dutch.
Correct.
I'll give him that one.
Absolutely sensational.
Has he walked on to that yet?
What's that? No.
If he's not, then he's missing a trick.
Yeah.
Is he too young to know that? Is it that borderline?
I think he's too young, but I think someone needs to have a word in his ear and he needs to change it to that.
Yeah.
I agree that Barney is playing so much better with this start setup. They're actually going to the board properly. Michael Van Gelwin then turned up to beat Danny Noppert. But again,
Didn't he just
much better performance from MVG. We'll come on to him again in a minute. And then Gerwyn Price losing to Daryl Gurney. Peter Wright getting rid of Jeff Smith. Rob Cross edging out Kevin Doots. That 1-6-1 was like an absolute body blow from the gods from Rob Cross.
At that point, when that went in, there was a little bit of me that thought, "Oh, Rob Cross is going to win this." Like there was just something. Sometimes when you pull things like that out, that's when you think, "Oh, it could be a bit of a special weekend here." And obviously things didn't quite go a great deal further for Rob Cross after that. But it was just one of those moments where I thought, "Oh, this could be it. This could be the start of something here."
Wessel will be kicking himself. Missed 5 match starts to beat Michael Smith, but a lot to like about Wessel's overall performances. And again, I'm convinced he's going to go on and do bigger and better things in the next couple of years.
Should have beat Michael, shouldn't he? Let's be honest.
100%. Michael said that himself in an interview. He said, "I should have lost both games. I got lucky in both." But
he's got away with murder repeatedly.
Got away with murder in 4 games.
I was going to say he's got away with murder repeatedly through the. It's a genuinely remarkable run, and I don't know whether or not it says a lot, and it probably does say a lot about Michael Smith and where he's at the minute, and his ability to sort of dig in and sort himself out and get over the line, because he should have lost 4 games in a row and won 4 games in a row. And obviously his darts have to be at that level where because you've got to be, in order to nick those games, you've got to be within touching distance. You can't get away with it if you're 6 legs back. You've got to be there or thereabouts. And he's just hung around in games he should have lost. And he's took advantage when his opponent has I'll use the word bottled it. He hasn't. He's stepped up and hit the doubles that he needed to, and he did a good job of it.
Yeah, 100%. Good evening. Connor is in the chat room. He says, "Hi, guys. Just want to say a big thank you for all the kind words the last few weeks. Our pleasure, mate. How are we doing, Grumpy? How are we doing? Darren is in as well." Right, this is where the Sunday session went to another level. The Little Adobe game was incredible, but that was only the start of the story. We'll touch on more in a minute. MVG, he beat Luke Humphries, and it says 10-9. But how twitchy did Michael Van Gerwen get in that game? You could see him trying so hard. We'll play the clip first of all, because we asked him that he was fully aware of the record. It's only a short clip, but we asked him about his record before facing Luke. Luke Humphries, your record against him of late isn't great. How do you put that right?
It's not great. It's shocking, but I need to make sure I'm going to change it out tomorrow, and I feel good, I feel comfortable, I think I can do a lot of damage tomorrow, especially if I keep playing like this.
He says he doesn't fear you. Do you believe him?
He definitely fears me. He's been the better player in the last few months over me. But if we both play on our top game, I'm still the better player, and he knows that. And that's why he's afraid of. But I need to show that tomorrow. I can say whatever I want, but I have to show them the dartboard.
I love that.
It's not great.
Even if he doesn't believe it, he's still saying it, and I respect the man for still going. Brilliant, class. That's what. But let's be honest. That for me, that's what has been missing. I did not enjoy Michael Van Gerwen sort of accepting that he was not playing very well, and sort of almost making his peace with the fact that he wasn't the best player in the world. Like, that is what I want from Michael Van Gerwen. Is I want complete honesty and a bit of anger and a bit of like that. I saw that interview and it got me excited to watch some darts this weekend. That's what we want to hear from Michael, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. And I just love them. It's not great. It's big. I get the old beat button out. But look, he fell over the line. He was good for so much spells, but the closer he got to that winning line, you could see it. The harder he was trying, and he almost bust the 180 in the last leg. It was just like, what is going on? But look, he did fall over the line in the end. Evening Win, hope you are good, buddy. But yeah, great. And then Peter Wright beat Daryl Gurney. We've got a clip to play from Daryl in a minute. But again, Peter Wright playing well, sticking to the same set of darts. He has got a new set of these when he gets home, exactly the same dimensions, just a bit more grip on them. So it's going to be these darts with the grip from his first World Championship darts. So, but the dimensions are the same. He just wants a bit more grip on the thumb.
Like Frankenstein's monster, aren't they? These it's. I mean, Christ, 10 times the player that most professionals could ever hope to be. So, like, one can't criticize too much, but it's mad.
And then Michael Smith beating Rob Cross into the side leg again. Another bonkers game of darts. But we're going to go to the semi-finals because we're going to start on this game because Luke Littler produced one of the best spells of darts I think I've ever witnessed. From 4-2 down to win 9 legs on the spin against Michael Van Gerwen, who is still averaging a ton. It's not as if Michael was fallen off a radar here. He still averaged a ton and did not get a dart at a double in that spell is quite frankly fucking ridiculous.
They're good, that, innit?
It's
right on there with spells as well. Like that, one of the best spells you'll ever see is Peter Wright against Michael Smith in that World Championship final. That string of sets right towards the end. Michael Smith by no means bottled that final, like people say did. Peter Wright was unplayable. Luke Littler rose to that level in this event.
It's difficult to try and, we like to try and freshen it up but it is hard sometimes to not find yourself repeating things that we've said before and said a lot about him, because it was just an absolutely superb period of time. The level that he reached and then maintained through that match was absolutely elite. That is about as high a level as you can see in this sport. It was superb. And it's at that point that you genuinely you forget, and you should forget, like, his experience and his ranking and his age, like, and everything else, because in that moment in time, none of it sort of really matters. He just becomes this incredibly special talent that's doing something amazing. It's genuinely incredible.
Yeah, and reminds me very much, and someone in the chat room will tell me the exact. I think it was either 2012 or 2013, I think, when Michael Van Gerwen did something very similar to Phil Taylor at the Grand Slam in an afternoon session. It was the first time I'd ever seen Phil dismantled on a stage in that kind of manner. And that performance from Luke reminded me...
Without playing badly as well. Like, without play, that's the thing. It's one thing for someone to have a stinker and someone to come and bash them about, but it's a very different thing to take, one of the best players on the planet playing well and do that to them.
Just an incredible performance, and it's the way he shrugged it off. He was like, "Yeah, I know I played well," type thing, but it was just like brilliant. Stuart makes a good point about the MVG accident in the shoulder. I'm not going to say what was said, but I had a really good chat with Vincent over in Holland about him working with Michael, and look, they're aware of the issues, and listening to Vincent talk, it was quite refreshing about what they're doing to get it right and everything like that. It was a real insight, and Vincent's knowledge was incredible. The way he broke stuff down, it was really good. So look, spells for Michael, but work to do still. But then the second semi-final, Michael Smith turned up after surviving, moving on to the final, but even he didn't have the answers to what was nothing short of a remarkable day for a young man that we're running out of words to describe him with, because it's just freakish what he's doing at the moment. And he's not doing it once, he's doing it all the time. think tournament average of 103, just remarkable.
Yeah, it's and it is a shame that these moments of like supreme dominance are coming in unranked events at the minute. Yes, he's doing it in ranked events, of course he is, because he's made quicker strides up the order of merit than anybody else in history. But like like we were saying earlier on, can you imagine if he was finding this level of dominance within the ranked events as well? He would be, ranked up there in the top 4. But he is becoming a unranked event specialist of sorts.
Let's play the clip
A bounty hunter, if you will. It turns up, takes all the money, goes home.
Let's play the clip on this because he was brilliant in this interview.
Tonight I felt like no one can beat me. I felt on top of the world, as anyone would, especially when I'm putting in silly numbers. But that just goes to show why I've come here as number 1 seed. I think it was. Anyone wins 9 legs on the trot against Michael, wherever it may be, but certainly here in Holland. But I just felt unbeatable once again, and I couldn't believe it myself, just winning 9 on the spin and advancing to the final.
I felt unbeatable. It's quite worrying when a dart player says that.
And backs it up.
Yeah.
And isn't made to look stupid in a minute.
I mean, I imagine, and I have to imagine very hard, but I imagine it is, imagine averaging 108 will give you a feeling of being unbeatable. It's different. You won't feel at risk of being beat if you're playing like that. But no, just like absolutely superb. And again, it's difficult to not constantly repeat ourselves, but the approach and the attitude that he has and the way that he comes across, and his approach to it is incredibly refreshing. You see, he does still seem an incredibly well-adjusted young man. It's a massive positive, isn't it? It's really good.
It's just ridiculous what he's doing right now. And look, he will go to every tournament as the joint favourite. I think the bookies won't split him and Nuke Humphreys. I think they'll go off as joint favourites for tournaments. But
I think that's because to the casual fan, Littler's far more attractive as a bet. Yeah, right, I've backed the kid to do it again. I still think Humphreys is the man to beat going into the back end of this year. I'd still shade him favourite in every event.
I tend to agree.
But I just think because LL has got such potential and ability to just go berserk like this, that will definitely be taken into account.
I think you'll see Littler as the favourite going into repeated majors at the back end of the year for the same reasons that you see England going into major tournaments as favourite repeatedly with UK bookmakers, because the casual punter will always back him. I think the casual punter is going to go for Littler over Humphreys generally at the minute. Plus, you'll get just a general fan bet on top of it as well. And also, the bookies are shit scared of him.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Right, we've got some clips to play from it before we move on. First of all, we're going to play one from Daryl Gurney, and I love this sport.
Yeah, I mean, I beat Dirk, and then I didn't realise I was playing tonight. And then I thought I got my preparation all wrong. But we got there, did it, went back, relaxed, showered, changed back, and we did a job. Doesn't matter how it went, but yeah, glad to be playing in the final day on Sunday.
Is that mass panic when you realise you've got to play for a second time in a day when you weren't expecting it?
Yes, it was. And Josie was panicking herself because I was calling her all the most polite names you've ever heard in your entire life. But as it says, Dean up the stairs, he goes, "Oh, you're on fifth." I said, "Okay, and I'll see you tomorrow." Fifth game, and I was thinking, "Oh, yeah, it's going to be this time." And then he goes, "No, fifth tonight." And I go, Are you sure? And then, so no, more than glad they get through, because to be honest, whenever I got that wee shocker, I thought, oh, I'm going to struggle.
How can you not know you're playing?
Well,
it is the first time they've done it this way. We said this was a bit ridiculous when the format came out. It's another genius stroke by the PDC and their scheduling team. But yeah.
Right, I've got 2 clips to play from Luke. First of all, we're going to play one about his game with Damon. It's an interesting side that we don't hear from Luke too often.
I always love playing Damon. He always gives me a really good game, but he was celebrating in between, and I just think that just gets me up for it. I love it, I love getting involved. And a lot of people, don't see me do that very much, but sometimes I do enjoy it. And rev me up, and he was celebrating when he was hitting his 180s, and on his throw, and I could hear it, and I'm thinking, I want to join in. That was it. Nothing aggressive towards Damon. So I wanted to join in. I wanted to get involved in it, and it was such a fantastic game of darts. I'm glad I did. And he said at the end, he was glad I got involved, because it turned out to be, a fantastic classic game. And both played well. That was unlucky for him that I won the ball and held my throw there in 10 darts.
Did he stoke the wrong fire for a change?
Yeah, I think he did. Sometimes there's a fire burning inside of me. Just sometimes I can't be bothered to show it, and I just want to get on with my business and do what I do. But sometimes when it comes out, it makes me play better. So I'm really glad he did, because maybe if he didn't, then it wouldn't have been such a great performance. But when I'm fired up, I do put in good performances. That's something that I've seen over my career for the last 6 years. When people give it, I give it back, and I seem to play well. So yeah, it was it was good for him to do that. It inspired me into a good performance.
We don't hear that from him too often, but I like that.
I love it.
Pretty chilled and laid back.
But this is the one that I like as well.
I just don't. I don't fear. I don't fear anybody, but I don't fear Michael. A lot of people sometimes play the player. I never do. Regardless of who I'm playing, I don't fear anybody. So maybe that's a thing. If you're someone that's not playing Michael on the regular, you might fear the name. And I probably would have done 4 or 5 years ago, to be honest, when he was on his peak. Even in my form now, I probably wouldn't have beat him, but he's not as dangerous as he was then many years ago, and that's no disrespect, that he just isn't. Stats would back that up. But yeah, I don't fear anybody, and I just play my own game. Maybe when you're losing a few times to someone, what happened to me with Luke, you're losing loads of times on the trot, and you're trying too hard to win. So if he was going to break the streak, it'd probably be tomorrow in his hometown, but I'm hoping that's not going to be the case.
I like it. I like the little rivalries that are now developing, and the fact that they are talking about it.
Yeah. And I like the fact that Luke's been there long enough now for everybody else to take notice. I think we've seen enough players that have had good peaks and good spells that have dropped off just that little bit too much to sustain it and be a contender to start these rivalries, that nothing's really materialised in the last couple of years. Yes, Gerwin Price accelerated that, and Michael's just been there, but they've all had chinks in the armour, shall we say. Humphreys is a genuine, bona fide top 3 player in the world for the next 2 to 3 years minimum, without succumbing to that. I say this with a chance of definitely jinxing him, but I don't see him losing an early round to a player outside the top 16. I don't see him being bashed up early. I see somebody quality having to beat Luke in a quarterfinal or beyond, and you're going to have to play well to do it. And that's the biggest compliment you can play him. He's not switching off. You're not going to catch him too cold. Yes, he's had a couple of not the best performances on the World Series as a whole, but he also knows how to peak and get himself up for these big tournaments. We've seen him have dips on the Pro Tour of late in the last few months, and then he rocks up to another event and he wins something. He has just got this knack of getting things right, and I think it's going to take an awful lot to stop him in any event moving forward. And that's what we've been waiting for, someone who that carries enough, because there's been people who, Peter Wright for one, have been a massive advocate of him not talking for the last 3 years, because he talks a lot and then he gets beat with an 80 average in the next round to somebody that he shouldn't lose to. I don't see that happening for Luke, which means he can be a little bit more boisterous and he can poke the fire just that little bit more now, because he's not suffered the embarrassment of losing when he shouldn't.
Yeah, look, 100%. But also the danger until after the World Championships, when the rankings sort themselves out, that we have it is a fear because we don't want it early on, but we could get Luke against Luke round 1 at the Grand Prix because of the way that the ranking is, and that'd be a disaster tournament, wouldn't it?
I don't think so. I still think the best player, that you have to beat everyone else who's beaten everybody else to win a tournament, don't you? That's how it works, and nobody gets to the final of a tournament by accident. It is a bit of an anomaly that we find a player of Luke Littler's talent unseeded in certain events. So he comes in, not. But haven't we only got 8 seeds anyway?
Yeah, we've got the World Grand Prix is only the top 8 seeded.
Yeah, so I think of all the tournaments, it's got the fewest seeds. So it's not really too much of an anomaly. But I'm all for it. Well, I think it'd be incredibly exciting for them to meet in an early round. First of all, because we're still seeing that game. We're still seeing what we consider to be the best 2 players in the world playing each other. I think it'd be a shame if they don't meet, in a big tournament. But then, there is nothing more interesting and exciting, and nothing that gives us plenty to talk about on these sort of streams than a draw opening up. You get them 2 in one half of a draw. Suddenly, the other half of the draw becomes very exciting, and your potential finalists in that other half of the draw are all of a sudden multiplied because they're not having to go through either of those 2. So, I from a purity point of view, ideally would we get the top 2 players in the world not meeting each other till a final? Ideally, but find me a darts fan that won't enjoy watching them meet in a first round match.
I wouldn't enjoy it, but where the format's so short, I want this over best of 9 sets, best of 11 sets. Not.
I don't know though, because then, but it's just a different dynamic of it, then, isn't it? It's a different. Don't make a mistake. You can't make a mistake. Then you play over short. You can't slip up. You can't not come out fast. You can't. It's a different. And I know we get to see them play over a shorter format quite a lot. More often than we do get. So it's very refreshing to see games that we get to see a lot played over a different format. So when we see, 2 Premier League players meet, but in a set play format, then it adds a new and different dynamic to something that we've seen a lot of times already. But yeah, you find me someone that is necessarily playing each other, and I'll find you someone who isn't a darts fan.
Yeah, no, 100%. I agree. Is Littler going to be in Slam? Well, that's a good point. Is he going to be in pot 4? No, surely the world final spot will outdo the world youth spot, I think.
Which one did he have first?
The world youth.
So he was already qualified for it when he entered the. I don't know what the rules are, and I imagine that there is one rule that's more important than the others in these scenarios.
Whatever the PDC won.
But clearly,
by world ranking.
He was.
You just qualified, and the 4 pots are in order, aren't they? It's not. Yeah.
Is that it?
Yeah, because it's bollocks.
Which again, but that pulls him away from a lot of the other seeds, doesn't it?
Yeah. Mental. Darts broadcasting was a subject that was rather topical on social media this weekend. And first of all, Mason Webby were absolutely incredible for ITV.
Elite.
Did an absolute amazing job. But I don't like to bash people, but there was one game where everyone in darts knows that on 60, Daryl Gurney throws the flatty. And you had 2 people in comms that were absolutely oblivious to it. One said, "Oh, I'm not sure what's happened there. What's gone on?" And the other one, "Look at the angle. It looks like it's going to fall out." Completely not a clue about what's going on.
Yeah.
And the amount of talent around in darts broadcasting right now, that shouldn't be happening, should it?
No, sadly not. And I get that these are people who are contracted to a broadcaster, primarily not for darts. I mean, I said it to you lot the other day, and I'm happy to say it because it's my genuine belief. I think Ned is an absolutely superb pundit and commentator and analyst and presenter when I watch him cover cycling, like the Grand Tour, his ability to cover the Grand Tour cycling is, in my opinion, the best there is. I think he's absolutely elite, like really, really, really good. But he was operating at the weekend outside of his specialism, and my opinion is that the job requires specialists.
It does now. There's a reason this did rounds on social media, because I pushed it on social media. I think it's the way we're going to go with it, and I'm not ashamed of it. And it's quite difficult to have this conversation when it's a world that I want to step into. I'm not exactly going to make many friends along the way if I keep going about it this way. But at the same time, like I said, this is possibly the sport's modern defining era. We aren't going to have many more peaks where we get attention like we do right now. We've had Fallon and the exposure that Fallon gave to the game, and now we've got Luke. Nobody, with all due respect, nobody's going to be fascinated by the next 17-year-old that comes along, because Luke's done that. Luke's done that storyline. So the only way you do that next is if we have a Bo Greaves get a tour card and do multiple things or win a major, right? That's the next time this sport gets major attention. Either somebody with a disability or somebody who is female wins at the very, very top level. That's the next time this sport gets eyes on it to this level. So you have to make the most of it right now. There are more casual fans watching than ever before. There are genuine darts people in the media who know what they're talking to, who can convey that to a multitude of audiences, whether that be someone who picked up a dart and looked at it for the first time yesterday, or someone who's been playing for 40 years, who are involved with the broadcast company that we're talking about right now as well, that are being left on the sidelines for events like this. And if I'm the PDC as the promoter, let alone a governing body or anything like that, I'd be looking for the best people in every role as often as possible. And I don't think that is happening across either broadcaster, not just the Bash ITV, because the event over the weekend was on ITV, and this is the one person that we're picking up on, and the point was made from comments in relation to why has Johnny Clayton decided not to play in the World Series. Well, quite frankly, he didn't have a choice. It's more a general thing as well now. There are people that have been commentators within the sport for the last 20 odd years or so that they don't quite have it anymore, in my opinion. They've got lazy. They're too comfortable. They're settled.
We have seen.
There's so much information and data available and knowledge that you can go to for things like the Euro Tour and the Pro Tour. Just simply saying on a national or international televised broadcast these days, or they're playing well on the floor events these days, is not enough context. Not when there's so much information. You don't even have to sit and watch the Pro Tour. But what you can do is tell me that Dave Chisner won on the Euro Tour last week and he beat so-and-so along the way. And it feels like that is beyond some people who are very comfortable in jobs right now. And look, we've spoken about broadcast deals being up and the potential of Matchroom taking stuff in-house before and et cetera, et cetera. The hope is that when that comes next year, the best people are put into the roles and it's not too late and we haven't burst this bubble and it's long gone and somebody's fascinated with, I don't know, rugby league next year. That won't be the thing. It's shit. But it's just a sport that needs a growth.
He's making friends again, isn't he? I think that Sky made some tweaks, and they did. And what they've done, what they did was they took what they clearly thought was a very good base. You know, they clearly felt that the structure, the spine of their team, if you like, was solid. So then what they did is when they brought new people in, because we've seen Dan Dawson and we've seen Glenn Durrant join that Sky team this year. But what I think has been quite clever about that, or why I think that's worked well, is they've kept that spine of voices that everybody's used to and familiar with, but what they've then added is they haven't just added new voices that sound a bit different, is that they've added two very distinct personas and backgrounds and specialism. You know, Dan Dawson, who has an encyclopedic knowledge of darts, and can just pull out some of the most very interesting things to make people switch on and tune in, and he's got a real talent for that. And Glenn, there's obviously a real recency about Glenn, in that lots of casual fans have seen Glenn win things on the telly very recently, and he's won the Premier League, and he's a face that's very familiar still to people as a professional darts player, even the casual fan. So they've tweaked that team, but I think they've been quite clever in what they've done to almost they've filled gaps that were missing from the squad that they have. I think ITV have got some really, really high level commentators and knowledge on the sport in Mason Webby, about as good as there is. But I think that there's just a lack of depth and then variety surrounding that.
Yeah, and
which is frustrating, because I think any one of us could rattle off, I don't know, 6 names of people that are probably worthy of that or a post.
Yeah. And like Gob says, it's when you've got so much good talent, that can be undone, especially when they're paired together and things like that as well. Commentating is about pairings as well. Pairings have to work, have to gel.
Yeah.
And I just think that they got it wrong this weekend, unfortunately.
And I think as well is it's knowing it's not just having the pairings that work, but it's then those pairings knowing what their role is within that pairing, and then knowing what their role is when they're paired with somebody else, because there has to be some bend and flex, because you have to work with who you're working with to give the best product. You know, sometimes there's a bit of humility involved in knowing that other people are better at a certain thing than you are, and then you will then take this role and this role in that, and everybody offers something slightly different. But I do think that there could be improvements made across the board.
Yeah, no, I agree, but I know he's in the chat room, but Mason Webby were absolutely outstanding as always this weekend. Pro Tour returns this week, and there is a high-profile return as well. We haven't seen Nathan Aspinall since the World Match Play due to injury. We did a sit-down with him last week. It's on our YouTube channel where he went through it and explained everything. Thought he spoke really well, but I'm excited to see Aspinall return. He says it's healed. It's good. I just need time now. Encouraging.
Yeah, it's good to see him back. Like, the sport's missed him. He was in really, really good form, battling away. The hope is that he is properly rested. I think for the sake of Nathan's career, it needs to be 100% right, because this isn't the first time he's been injured. This isn't the first time he's had a gap. If you come back too early, you are taking months, if not years, off the end of your career once again.
Yeah.
And he has the ability to sustain a career for the next 10 to 15 years at the top of this game, as a minimum, if the desire is there. If you start messing around when you are still not 100%, going, oh, I'll just work my way back in, and then all of a sudden you get caught up in, well, I'm playing this, and this, and by the end of the year you've played too much and done too much, you're in trouble. Just if he says he's fine, then good. But and I know he's working with a specialist and everything else, but even still, if you're itching to get back out there and do something, you will deny how bad you are sometimes, I think. Especially someone who has a competitive nature. Like, I've broken bones before and attempted to play football weeks before I was actually ready, because it was like my club's 6-a-side tournament. I was trying to convince people that I could walk on a broken toe after 2 weeks, so I could play at our 6-a-side. I couldn't, but because it was our event and it only happens once a year, I was like, trust me, I'm fit, I could play.
Yeah, like what he said to a degree. I just hope, like, Nathan at his best is a fucking massive asset for darts. Like, and everybody I think everyone just hopes that whatever everything's worked, the treatment's worked, he comes back and gets back to his normal self, and then can compete at that elite level without the struggle that it seems to have been. Like, he has done some job of competing, a really good job of competing considering what he's gone through. But mind you, if he comes back and it's all healed and he's playing amazing, there will be some people in the top 10 shitting themselves, because he's one hell of a player to have back at full strength.
Yeah, and look, obviously the Pro Tours, and people are talking about who's missing and whatever. So I don't know this, but I guess Peter Wright is missing it because they only got back from Amsterdam today, and then there's a Euro Tour at the end of the week as well. So doing TV event, Pro Tour, Euro Tour, maybe a little bit too much. And that we kind of forget Peter is no spring chicken. That amount of travelling in a short space of time can take it out of you. So I would guess he skipped the Pro Tour to play on the Euro Tour. So the tour card holders, this was released Friday, I want to say, is Ronnie Huybrechts, Paul Korn, Adrian Lewis, Josh Rock, Pascal Reprek, Peter Wright, Jules Van Dongen, Adam Smith-Mill, and Leighton Bennett. There is another one missing. Gary Anderson will not be there now. I won't tell you how I know, but Gary Anderson. So there will be another replacement. I don't know how far down the list they've gone. The Challenge Tours players coming in: Connor Scott, Wesley Placia, Christian Kist, Andy Bolton, Jimmy Van Ski, John Henderson, Dragutin Horvath, Lee Cox, and Daryl Pilgrim, plus one more. I'm interested to see Jimmy Van Ski because he's got a lot of attention recently, winning, I think, is it 4 or 5 WDF events now. I'm interested to see him cut his teeth on the Pro Tour, and let's see where that game is against the very best. Because that's kind of the next step. He's done it outside the PDC. Now let's see what that game's like against the elite.
And he'll go in there with very little expectation on himself as well. 100%. And I know that. I've spent enough time with him down the road. And the thing that strikes me about Jimmy is his approach to the game. He's like, I'm back, I'm enjoying it, but I need to be making progress every year. If there's some sort of progress every year, some sort of improvement, then I'll carry on, then I'll keep playing. He goes, as long as I'm improving, I'm happy. If I don't improve for a year or 2 years in a row, then I'll look at giving it up again, because I'm not where I need to be. Yeah. And I like that from him. Until he reaches the level where he wants to be, and beyond that, I rate that.
Yeah, 100. Aidan Kirk is next after Kirk. Cheers, Adam. Thank you very much, mate. There's a nice blend in there. I think Josh Rocks on the holiday just had a little one as well. Obviously, a couple of suspensions in there. Peter Wright just recovering or just getting over the Euro Tour win and going around. So I expect to see him back. But look, time is running out as well. That these events are coming around quick. Players like Rob Cross needs a big performance. He's a mile off Minehead at the moment. Joe Cullen probably could use with a confidence boost. So it's a big couple of days with 2 Pro Tours and then straight to a Euro Tour. There is a lot of ranking points on offer in the next 6 days.
Busy, and it's getting to that important time of year as well, isn't it? Where all of it is. I think it's easy sometimes for these Pro Tours to not really know or think about how important they are. Certainly earlier in the year when there's lots of time for things and there's always something coming up and you've got loads of time to make up if it doesn't go to plan. Whereas now it's the business end of the season. It's major season coming up and everything gets a little bit back to back. And if you either lose your form or you are not sitting outside of the green qualification spots for something, then the pressure is on and they become very important events, these.
Completely. He was on the entry list, but he will not play in these 2. And they could not be on Friday. Yeah, he was up in Scotland, wasn't he, Stu? Saw the pictures from the exhibitions, Hendo, Suter, and that. It looked really, really good. But no, he won't be playing. Is it possible to get 132 from that? But no, look, it's going to be interesting that there's a lot on the line for players. As we touched on entering major season, this is also the time of the year where tour cards are going to be kept or lost. So the pressure is immense on these players, not just at the top level, but at the bottom one as well.
Big time. Lots of people start. I think this is where, look, we spoke about Rob Owen a few weeks ago, and this is probably more open to everybody else as well. It's start considering if a career as a PDC pro is as lucrative as you think it is. There's lots of people on social media that will start looking around for help towards Q School and sponsors and costs and everything else. And part of me suggests that if you are that financially restricted that you need help just to be at that event, unless you have an exceptional start to life as a pro, you're going to struggle as a professional dart player. This isn't you can rock up on a weekend now and go back to your 9 to 5 Monday to Wednesday anymore. There are still players working, don't get me wrong, but some of them are either burning through an awful lot of holiday or are incredibly fortunate to be in jobs that allow flexibility. Alan Suter is one that we spoke about that was quite high profile at the start, but he's now having to give up every weekend he possibly can to get all the lads off so that he can have midweeks off. He's happy to do that because he's got the balance to his career. Not every job is going to give you the option to constantly do that.
Which is why I'm never on the stream anymore, because mine won't. It's true. No, but it's true. Like the moment that announcement was made, I messaged the group and went, "Oh, sorry lads, that's about the last you'll see of me on the Pro Tour streams because
when was the last time I did the Pro Tour?
My employer will not swallow like some sort of. I mean, it's one thing, you know, maybe pitching in if you're working from home, but I can't just stream for an afternoon on the public purse. I need to. I've got to be at work, and so it is. There are plenty of, and let's be honest, you know, the Pro Tour is awash with, you know, butchers, bakers, candlestick makers. There are a very, very broad spectrum of careers and sort of professions. If you could do some sort of fun quiz, I think, if pulling out some of the random professions that PDC tour card holders have that I think people would be surprised by. But you're right, is that not every job, and some of them are lucky enough where, you know, they're self-employed. You know, we see people who have been, you know, tradesmen. We've got roofers and bricklayers and people who can, you know, choose to not take on work and then work at other times in order to fulfill their darts requirements. But, you know, if you have an office job, a 9 to 5 with a salary, you are going to massively struggle but there are tour card holders who work for the NHS and other organisations that can't just say to people, well, just be off when you fancy. It's difficult.
Yeah, no, it is. I agree. Yes, I will be live tomorrow. Don't worry about that one. Playing professional.
You like that, Josh?
I like that. But yeah, look, it will be interesting, and it's only gonna get worse as well. We've got more Pro Tours next year, so I'm interested to see the Q School entry numbers. Or no, sorry, I think the entry numbers will still be good because of you have to play
Michael Van Gerwen. He's not Asda. So my fault is his colour scheme.
I'm interested to see
whatever it is.
How many players play all of Q School, shall we say, not just a day, so they're eligible for things.
Well, it's a broken system, that I think. You invite people to abuse it. If that's going to be your rule, then you get what you get what you deserve.
They don't care, do they? Because the financial reward, it's less effort on the day, it's less games they need to actually get through, but they still get paid for it as a registration fee almost.
I think we worked it out last year. Q School, I know there's obviously money to take off for this for venue hire, staffing costs, but I think it brought in around 420,000. So it's one of them. Next one was we kind of off the back of this, and we kind of touched on it, but I didn't go into it. It's like Luke's against the world at the moment, and I don't want to be disrespectful to Michael Smith because England won the World Cup this year, and they both played very, very well. But at some point, when that England team is Luke and Luke, that could be absolutely fucking ridiculous.
Well, it is because what we don't see from the other nations is more than one elite player. And again, there's probably someone that's going to have a moan about that because there will be. But, there is no one currently to partner Michael Van Gerwen who can realistically compare with that England team. There is no one that can make up, no two players that can make up a Scotland team at present that can look competitive with that. Wales is off the boil. So are many, many other, or let's be honest, all of the other countries. A lot of them, there is very much a captain and a secondary player, whereas that England team, once it is established, as I think we all expect it to be, for a good few years of those two Lukes, then you see, I get that win, but I don't think you could really propose Michael and Dirk as a duo that is a legitimately at the same level as the two Lukes, or even within 10% of that. I don't think they're within 10%.
It does feel like it is going to be dominated by the two Lukes for a while. Just at what we're seeing, especially if you don't get one of them early, when the format goes up.
However,
I think we've massively missed Wales in that conversation a little bit, but
I'm not right now. I wouldn't say so.
I mentioned them because I just don't think they're close.
Right now, I don't think they're close either. I'm not saying Desi and Johnny don't have the ability to get there, but if you're asking me right now, would they push them? No.
Imagine what odds we get off a bookmaker for that. You could have. So I'll tell you the big. Let's think. Maybe it depends what happens in the next 2 years with Wessel Nijman. Because if Wessel Nijman has a really, really big, and I mean wins something next 18 months, then he could partner an aging Michael van Gerwen having one last go at the World Cup.
Yeah. Where was the question? Josh says, think like MVG might start fucking off the World Cup. If he thinks he's got no chance,
like he already has done 4 times in the
I was gonna say, the interesting word in that comment was start.
Yeah, he decided to play this year. But yeah, look, it was funny. Westall's trivial. I think Van Veen's better. Van Veen's there as well.
I think we've seen Van Veen's ceiling. He's a hell of a player, but I think we've seen his, and I don't mean his ceiling as in, you know, where he can get to in the ranking. I mean his game. I think he'd have to go away and do something significant in order to come and offer more than what we've seen of him. But I don't think we've seen Wessel Nyman's ceiling yet.
No, it will be interesting to see. Whilst we're on air, we have had some news come in, and our WhatsApps have been pinging gob, shall we say?
You two might have been. I've just got, this is me being ignorant, I've just got 30 unread messages. So whatever this topic is, expect me to be fucking as uninformed as ever, because I've got 30 unread messages.
Do you want to read it out, Gob?
You can read it out. Go
on. What's that?
Then I'll wade in.
Samantha Lewis has written on her.
Oh, this will be fun.
Facebook. This is getting beyond the joke now. British Open in Bridlington have refused my entry with no explanation, advice, or anything to say why, with the crying face. I can't cope with this. I've played in these competitions for years.
Fucking spectacular.
We weren't going to talk about these, not did we?
And then,
yeah. Where's my Jose Mourinho meme? If I speak.
If you're going to refuse someone's entry, then
right, yeah. So
I know, you have to give them an explanation. To be fair, I messaged Samantha as well, and I said, "Hi, Samantha, seen your Facebook post. We're going to talk about. Are you happy for this? Have they given you any explanation at all?" And she's replied, "No reason whatsoever."
See, this is my issue, right? Is the decision? Let's work on the wild assumption, and I apologize if I've got this wrong. I'm sure someone will correct me on Twitter. But let's work on the wild assumption that this has something to do with gender. Now, if it does, then the people that make the decision clearly have a view on it, and they believe in their view strongly enough in order to allow it to inform their decisions as to who is and who isn't allowed to play in their tournaments. So just fucking say it, put it in black and white. That's my, like, if the rule is that somebody can't compete for whatever reason, and if it pertains to their gender, that's the decision that the organizer has taken, then put it in black and white. And say, unfortunately, for you, on this occasion, you are not welcome to play in this tournament. Or, as it may be, you are not welcome to play in that category for this tournament because X or Y or Z.
One or the other.
And that is, I think, because then, like, because how do you, and I'm sure that it's been done on purpose, but how do we then provide any sort of accurate analysis or commentary or really any sort of, I don't know, scrutiny whatsoever if people's cards aren't on the table? Like, or is it genuinely just like, I don't know. I think it's a dangerous is the wrong word. I'm trying to be careful here. People think I don't put thought into what I say, but I do try my best. I don't think it's an efficient way of managing anything if you are just arbitrarily using your discretion to disallow people who you don't like, whether that's because you've disagreed with them on something or personally fallen out with them or they've called you a twat on social media or something like that. I think if you are going to run an event, then you make some rules and apply them. But you also have to state what the fucking rules are. You can't keep a rule book up in your inside pocket that only you see. And when all the names come in, you can't go, no, right, sorry. And then not tell anyone what the fucking rules are. Yeah. Put on your big boy trousers, get some bottle, and explain.
I think it's deliberately vague.
Yeah, but of course it is. But again, put on your big boy trousers and fucking explain it.
Well, they can't, because if they do that, they lose all points and affiliation to WF, and then the numbers drop.
But I mean, and I might be wrong. But is that not the point? Like, if you believe in something, then stand by it and do it. Like this whole, I thought that was the point. I thought that was what we have seen people take very strong decisions that have had impacts on their own careers because of their beliefs. But that doesn't seem to be what's happening here. It seems to be deliberately vague, which is sort of like we want to put these rules in, but we don't want to stand by them. We don't want to say them out loud because we fear the repercussions of saying this out loud. But if you believe it, then say it.
Yeah.
It's difficult because without a reason, because I genuinely sit here with now about 36 unread messages. Probably someone already calling me a twat for something I've said in the last 40 seconds. But it's very difficult to put any comment on it because, we in this situation have, in fairness to everybody, have absolutely no idea what that decision is based on. There could be something to which none of us have any knowledge at all that has nothing to do with gender. That is a reason why that decision was taken. And I'm being very generous in that.
Well, I've got something to bring up on that. Which
I suspect the reason that will be given will be a continuation of the suspension due to social media conduct towards an official.
Well,
if they ever give a reason.
But if that's the case, then come out and again, that's fine. Like if someone called me a knobhead on Twitter, and they do, but if they did,
that's just my burner.
But it is. I'm convinced it's Hannah. Like with a burner, I am certain that she's got a burner account.
Just chuckling away.
But when people call me a knob on the internet, I don't want them to come and play darts with me. I do sometimes because I know that it's just because they're hurt in a way they don't understand and they take it out on me. But so if it's literally they called me names on the internet and therefore I don't want them in my tournament, fine, say it though. Like, fine. Just that's the only thing I want is I think that in order for us to really have a proper discussion about anything, we need to actually know the things. So
the issue I got there is that was the reason given the initial time, and even that was incredibly vague. As like, surely you give evidence going, this is the posting question, this is what we've got an issue with, blah blah blah. To just say abuse on social media towards an official is could be anything.
To be fair, it is only 9:20.
There's no running up to it because then there's scrutiny. If they're as vague as possible, they can hide behind it or they can shift the agenda or motive and whatever.
It is only 9:20 though. If somebody did want to explain it, I'm sure we could fit them in.
Well, I've got a couple of points on this. One,
There's a board member in the chat.
Lendl, it's England
I'm
darts.
sure we'll be on his Facebook post within the hour.
Only the hour. Right, if it's like you say, if it's due to abuse or social media abuse of an official, then I would ask the question why this isn't consistently brought out. Because me and Neil Duff had a great chat after Samantha was disqualified from playing in, was it Breen? And Neil said some very unpleasant things and meant every word of them to England darts officials, including the chairman, including whoever else made some very strong points and wanted to make sure they were kept in the interview because that's how he felt. But Neil's entries have never been refused. He played in England darts events. So if that is the case, why hasn't it consistently done across the board? The second one, if it is because of the categories they're playing in and they're standing against that, then fine. If that's the decision of your organisation, but then for me, the WDF have to stand strong here, and that organisation should not have ranking points attached to the WDF because whether people like it or not, the WDF allow transgender athletes to compete. We saw Victoria Monaghan at Lakeside last year. We may see Noah at Lakeside. We may not. So if you are saying that they cannot earn points for someone that accepts it, the categories they're playing in, then they shouldn't be giving out ranking points.
But I just think you need to, but you won't get that unless somebody says what the rules are. Like if someone says what the rules are and then apply the rules, then it's very clear. And then because at the minute, I mean, the WDF can't do anything about that because there is no someone unless, and again,
I think they can if it's due to gender.
But it's not due to anything, is it? Unless someone says it.
Yeah, but at this point, the WDF, as the governing body, right? This is a ranked WDF event. I'm looking at it on the website. It's a silver event. So effectively, that there are ranking points. They govern this tournament. They should now be stepping in to find out why.
Well, you would hope so. And if don't be wrong, there are many reasons why somebody could be banned from playing a tournament. But if that person is, they should be told. Amateur hour here from me. But if you're going to ban someone from competing in something, you probably should tell them what they have done in order to earn that ban. That's just, that's fucking basic admin, isn't it? Really, just,
Could you imagine if a footballer got banned and they didn't give a reason?
Well, and I assume the level you're talking about is like Billy's under-10s team. Yeah. Because I would expect it of them. If I got a message of his cricket coach that just said, just so you know, he's banned from cricket next week, he's not allowed to play in that event, I would expect a justification as to why at that level of under 11s cricket. So at the level we're talking here, yes, I think it's perfectly reasonable and normal to expect an explanation. And once we know what the explanation is, then folk will scrutinise it, and some people will support it, and some people will say that's an outrage. And also, somewhere along the line will be a person with a big rule book, and one will be the rule book relating to the governance of the sport, and another one will be the rule book relating to the actual laws of the country we live in. And hopefully the rules fit within both of them. If they don't, someone ends up with a red face, don't they?
Again, Samantha is listening, and she's just dropped me a message. I'm going to read it out because she's identified the comment that she made. And the comment was, or she says, the only comment that I made was she spat her dummy out when losing in a WDF final. Could you imagine getting banned for that comment? Some of the things that we've said.
I've not had it confirmed to me, by the way, whether or not I am or aren't banned. I was thinking of having a go just to find out if I am or I aren't. I hope I'm not.
And I say that's a direct that's Samantha that she said. That's the comment that she made. And if you are getting banned from tournaments for that as a comment, then we've heard players say a lot. And again, Neil won't mind me saying this. Neil went to tan on them after the Six Nations. He went to tan. He called them a lot worse than that, but he was allowed to play, which is a massive thing here. That
maybe it's discretionary though. Maybe you're allowed to pick which ones do and don't count.
I don't think I'm going to be allowed to play anything anytime soon, do you?
I don't know what the rules are. The rules might be that it's at the discretion of the organisers. In which case,
Thompson and his motley crew.
In which case, discretion might be allowed. There might be discretion written into the rules, which means you can choose when you dislike somebody's conduct and apply it or not. Who knows? It'd be great to get.
It's genuinely the comment that caused the ban. It's worse than getting component for tax evasion, isn't it? It's like anything will go. We'll just slap some bollocks.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, it's like being sent home from school for having the wrong colour socks on or something, isn't it?
That happens far too often these days, and you should know better, Daniel.
It doesn't fucking happen often enough, lad. If people just put black socks on and did as they were fucking told, it wouldn't happen at all, would it? People just got in for maths on time, wearing the right stuff and concentrated on their work.
Mind you, it just about sums up the UK in general now, doesn't it? Because you get locked up for saying something on Facebook, yet you can do horrible things and avoid
suspended sentence.
Yeah,
and about 200 grand's worth of the public purse while you're on it.
Yeah, and avoid prison. It just about sums up the world.
Oh, it's fucking remarkable, isn't it?
Say something horrible on Facebook, you're getting done for 3 years.
Correct.
You
better believe it.
Yeah, you're the anchor of a public news channel that does something completely and utterly.
Yeah. Don't forget they'll keep you on the payroll to the tune of about 200 grand whilst you're having already been arrested.
It was more than that. It was about 400.
Wow.
Which is remarkable. But again, there's never a dull moment on that. On the same sort of thing as well, Dita has also announced that she won't be going to the Masters this year, which is not that far away now.
When is it?
Just looking at the calendar now. I'll say November, is it, I think?
Fair enough.
Paul, we haven't said that she did. I'm just saying the quote that was given.
I'm more they're from an England darts organisation board member. The EDO is not enforcing this. It is a Tri-Nations agreement as far as I know. Which means it can't be for conduct towards an EDO board member. Which means
unless there's a rule in the Tri-Nations that says you can't call an EDO. But hang on. All right, no. But was it... this is spiraled now. Was it actually about an EDO board member, though? Or was it just... Well,
you did just say the EDO is not enforcing this.
Somebody's made that decision. See, my only problem, my only frustration with it is a lack of transparency. That if you are going to be the person that says no, fucking wear it and say no. Like, say, do you be the person? Like, somebody there has made that decision, or a group of people, a collective of people have made that decision. But why are they not willing to either like say it themselves, or then just give us or not us personally, like we're beneath me, but why is someone not explaining
But
when they issue the ban?
Consider this, Paul, an official media request towards the England Darts Organisation in the next half an hour. Could you please let us know if the England Darts Organisation are the ones enforcing this, if it is an extension of the suspension for social media conduct for Samantha, and if not, we'll approach Tommy Thompson of the Tri-Nations directly to get a response for next week.
This is where darts massively lets itself down as a sport when it hasn't got an out-and-out governing body and to rule on things. It's like the Wild West.
Well, it is when things are being done on fucking comments on Facebook. Like, I avoid social media as much as, like, I have a very, very inactive profile on social media. I've never Instagrammed, I've never Twitched, I've never done any of these things. I've never done a TikTok. And sometimes I feel like I might be missing out on something. And then on other occasions, I think, thank fucking God that, because it does seem like a lot of these things sort of play themselves out. You know, instead of grown-ups having meetings, like that's what used to happen, you know, people would have a meeting and a discussion and like someone would chair the meeting and it'd be done in an orderly fashion and things would be achieved, like progress will be made and there will be outcomes and there'd be a perfectly good system for people to challenge those outcomes. But what happens, it seems now, is that things are discussed on social media and half-truths and half-rumours get shared around and answered and or half-answered. And I just think it's an incredibly poor state of affairs where there's very little transparency, very little honesty, very little, nothing's on an open book. Everything's done in corridors. Nobody's willing to take ownership of it. People who claim very, very, very strong views on particular matters are intermittent in their willingness to stand by them.
100%. It's the same with the DRA. That
100%. Well, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Like 100%. There's another one.
There's no transparency from the people that are meant to oversee the sport at the moment.
And so I don't even know what Paul's referring to there. Or just because I'm being thick and I can't read it properly. But anyway, but whatever it's referring to as being nearly as bad as getting answer off than the DRA, then it shouldn't be though, should it? And if that's the case, it's shit because when you take on any and there are an awful lot of people doing an awful lot of things in darts, often for fuck all. Like there are people all over this country who, like, and often at a loss, like give up their time and their effort and their money and everything else to do things for darts generally, and it's a thankless task. And then they work really hard, and then people on social media call them a cunt, and that is sort of the. Unfortunately, that happens all the time. But if you do take on a responsibility where you say, well, I am going to be part of this board, or I am going to be part of this governing body, or I'm going to be part of this organisation that helps steer darts into the, you know, onto the right path, then you also take on a responsibility of like accountability. You have to be accountable for the decisions that you make and the things that you do. But you also have some accountability for like some level of transparency to the people in which your decisions affect. You know, it's why every social club in the country has an AGM every year, and why they have a committee that, you know, have a role to represent the people that are involved in that social club. And it just seems to fall apart. And there's a lot of politicking and not a lot of transparency, I feel, from the outside. And it's very much an outsider's view. And it can be as ill-informed as people want to keep pointing out to me that it is. However, I stand by the fact that if you are going to take on a role, paid or otherwise, where you are going to represent any sort of organisation, then you have an obligation. You have certain obligations, and some of those obligations are to make wise decisions and fucking justify them. Say them out loud to the people they concern. If you have to sack somebody, you don't just say, "I'm sorry, you're sacked. Don't come back tomorrow." You have to provide like some level of explanation to it. And it's exactly the same if you ban somebody from competing in something. Fucking amateur hour.
On a lighter note, Darius Labanauskas victory at the Super Series this week. He's the first winner of Series 9.
I can lift myself back up now. I worked myself into a right, like I could feel myself sliding down the chair there, working myself into a foul mood. I will seek to lift myself back up again now. Move on.
I didn't see any of it, if I'm being honest, because I was in the Netherlands. Gob, did you see any of it or not?
No, not on Saturday. I refed for Hampshire for the first time ever, and then I drove 3.5 hours to Nottingham.
Fairs.
Yeah, I drove more than I've ever driven at the weekend in order to get me and Billy to the cricket. I was saying I left at 5 o'clock in the morning and got home at 3:08 the following morning. A very long day out, but it meant I did miss most of everything that went on in the world.
Fairs. To be fair, Adam's got a point here. Yeah, I tell. Mr. 138 is a little bit salty on Twitter at the moment, isn't he? Nibbling on just about everything.
Yes.
I don't mind a little nibble, though. He's got some spirit in him. I've got a Keith Deller shirt that at some point I need to donate or auction off or give to charity because
well, don't auction it. It'll kick off if there's an auction.
Well, this is what I was thinking, you see. That was where I was leading to, because it is, unfortunately, a medium. And those of you that have had the displeasure of meeting me at some point will know that it's not a fucking chance. So I need to find something productive to do with that. I might have to do something for it with a charity or something. Yeah, I'll auction it. Let's auction off the Keith Deller shirt.
I've got a bit of an issue with Keith at the minute.
Go on.
Well, one, he's released a new playing shirt for when he plays at the seniors. He doesn't play in any of the floor events, and he's not picked for the TV events. So I don't really understand the logic behind that. Two, he had this spat with MDA events about having an auction in the middle of events and criticising the fact that the promoters need to earn some money back, only to then have an auction at one of his events as well. And three, he was tweeting quite recently, I believe, about feeling disrespected by the youth of today for not giving him enough respect for being one of the 16 players that left and went their own way. And I'm like, the world doesn't owe you that anymore. There are generations that would have followed Keith that would have been owed that and would have gone, yeah, all right. But to expect 15 and 16-year-olds to walk around events going, oh, thank you, Mr. Deller, blah, 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 for something you did 40 years ago that ultimately was for the benefit of himself first and foremost, rather than future generations to come, is quite bizarre to me.
Yeah, I think this is the different. Unfortunately, an awful lot has happened in darts since then, and there is an awful lot going on in darts at the moment. And the younger and casual fans and people that are, there are people going to, and I appreciate a lot of the people that Keith is coming across at the minute are people at exhibitions, and they are, I think, and you probably get to more than any of us, Phil. I think we are starting to see a slightly different crowd at exhibitions in the last 18 months or so.
100%.
I think the exhibition crowd is changing, and it's changing from what it was even 3 years ago. And there are much more like newer, casual darts fans, people who are tuning more into just darts being a good night out, people who maybe would only otherwise go to maybe a Premier League night and a particular exhibition that maybe is an annual event or something like that. And therefore, just those people, by nature of the way they've come to the sport, they haven't got a fucking clue that happened. And maybe darts doesn't do a good enough job of explaining that and its roots and its history. But whose job is that to do? Because the PDC want very much, understandably, to live in the moment. They want people to tune into the current project. They'll know what they've got going on at the moment. I know maybe Keith should write a book. Tell everyone about it.
Well, I agree. The exhibition lineups, then the way it's done, have changed because darts tickets are hard to come by. The promoters and I use MDA and Modus as the two flagships here because they put on more events than anyone. The lineups they are putting on at the moment are, like Josh says, mini world championships where you get to see Michael Van Gerwen playing Michael Smith as their head-to-head. Nathan Aspinall against Michael Smith. Next year, we've got Luke Littler against Luke Humphreys head-to-head. They just released the Stevenage Showdown returns as well, where you've got Rob Cross, Nathan Aspinall, Stephen Bunting, Josh Rock and Adrian Lewis on a night. The Armageddon lineup is incredible. You'll see Fallon go head-to-head with Bo. Phil and Barney go head-to-head. So the way our exhibitions are being promoted now are like mini PDC events. So the casual fan that can't get a ticket for the match play, hang on a minute, I can go and watch these two here. Brilliant. And they go with their mates. So yeah, it has changed. And with the greatest respect in the world to the older players, and I'm not disrespecting or taking away any of their achievements, the young, new casual fan want to see the modern day stars. And that's what they're getting.
They want to hear. The world has changed, and people want instant gratification, and they want to see the people they've seen on the TV. They want to be able to. Let's be fucking brutally honest, and I hate the culture as much as anyone else, but they want to be able to film what's going on and photograph it and put it on Instagram and put it on TikTok and have people like it because their lives are empty and they need that extra warmth from strangers. But that's what people are looking for. And yeah, it just is what it is. And I think it's like a lot of things where you ain't going to change it. So the more you wind yourself up about it and make yourself angry about it, the more you are just, unfortunately, probably just going to end up frustrated and disappointed. Yeah, I just think Keith should write a book. I'll ghostwrite it for him. He can do the audible read. Be good.
Yeah, 100%. Have we missed anything else in a week of darts? Start to get your questions in as well.
Did we do Panini last week? We did, didn't we?
Yeah, because we were arguing whether it was cards or stickers.
Yes, of course we did. Yeah.
Again, we've had a good question time for a while because we've always rushed it. So let's have a proper good question time today. But what else have we missed? I saw Brian Roman won in Italy. I think that's the first WDF event he's won since he lost his tour card.
Good for him. Former world number one.
Yeah. 100%.
If you think being 27 is too old to buy Panini cards, then I can tell you one 37-year-old that will be buying them, a lot of them.
Billy?
For my son.
Yeah, I don't think we've missed anything else in a week of darts, have we? Because we're normally shit at that bit.
I rely on you two for most of that. As the
County
expert.
was back this weekend.
What's that?
County returned this weekend.
It did. I didn't see a lot of it. I saw Hampshire won with a very stacked B team.
That's not what I expected to see on debut, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
walking
That's
into
an
the room
interesting
to
question.
referee a B team day that include Laura Turner, Aaron Turner, Richard North, and Aaron Monk.
Yeah, it was. Malachi says players championship predictions.
Dobie to win one. Connor Scott to make a board final, which puts him into the green for Minehead. If he does that, if he makes a board final, I'm fairly confident he'll be in the green. He's only 500 quid behind. Who else will win one? Damon Header.
I'm going to go for Dirk van Dijvenbode to win one. And Wessel Nyman. I'm going double Dutch.
Double Dutch. Goodness me.
Go.
No idea. Hatter and Ross Smith.
Got an interesting one from from Lendl. Sorry, that one there. What needs to happen in Hungary for you guys to say the Masters to be a success? First of all, go back to the original format. This new one's shit.
Yeah.
That it won't happen. But the Masters was all about the format. And yeah.
Format go back, but that's not going to happen. For this tournament to be a success, it's all about how it comes across. So live scoring needs to be available, presuming they're using Dart Connect for all stages, including the floor. If it's still darts, Lord help them.
I'd like to see a stream.
Look, there doesn't need to be a full-on PDC ITV level production stream.
No,
there
of
needs
course
to
not.
be
And no one
some
expects that, I don't
there
think,
needs
do they?
to be some half-decent cameras. There needs to be some knowledgeable people who get to sit there and talk about it over commentary.
Hungary is a gorgeous place. Like it will. I do think that it will be a brilliant experience for those who go, because it's lovely. It's a very, very nice place to go to.
They shouldn't disable comments, Warren. They should have somebody monitoring the chat room a lot better than they have done in the past couple of years.
Yeah.
Whoever is responsible for that stream should
are
moderate it.
It's moderated properly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing. You don't want to remove a chat room, because then you remove it from all of the decent people that want to participate. And that's not what you want. You want people talking about your product. What you need is someone sat in a chair deleting the comment every time someone says something fucking ridiculous.
Which is a miracle that half of you have survived on our stream for this long, but we like you all, so you know.
This is going to get people going. What's your Mount Rushmore for darts? Oh.
God, this could piss a few people off on Twitter, couldn't it? Dobie.
Yeah, it's Rob. Four makeup Mount Rushmore.
Does it?
Oh, this is going to be.
I think that 3 are easy. You have to have Taylor, Bristow, and MVG. And I think the other spot is probably interchangeable. I think you have to have Taylor, Bristow, and MVG.
I've gone different. I've looked at it a different way.
You like what? What? How can you look at it different to them three? What have you based it on?
Darts,
Nicer haircuts or something? I don't know why.
Darts Mount Rushmore. I'm sticking 2 people on there that aren't players.
Ah, right, okay. Well, I've restricted myself to players. Otherwise, I just have them 3 and Barry's head on the end.
I've put Ollie and Barry on there. Although Ollie, it was sour towards the end. What he did in the early stages to get darts as big as the BDO did, I don't think can be overlooked.
Yeah, I know. I don't disagree. I think it becomes a lot harder.
Or without Barry's money, the PDC wouldn't be where it is now.
I think it just comes a lot harder
in terms of the sport. I think the impact those 2 have had in different ways. I'd have them on a Mount Rushmore of darts.
So you must be going 2 from 3 on the other 2, then, are you?
Yeah.
Which is incredibly challenging, isn't it?
No, it's easy.
Yeah?
Phil and Michael.
Fair enough.
God?
Do you want my genuine answer or the one I've just spent 5 minutes cooking up in my mind?
Was it similar to me? I had a quick think about how many people can I piss off in one answer. I can piss off a lot of people in 4 words.
Your proper answer, because I get the feeling your other one, someone might be in charge.
No, very close. It was between him and Tony Eccles for spot number 4. The other 3 were Sue Williams, Tommy Thompson, and Des Jacklin.
Now, can we have your joke one? Now, tell us your funny one.
Take the BDO World Championships to the Indigo at O2, which is the best venue for darts in the world. So you've got to put him up there.
I still haven't got locked in that venue. So go on, who's your one?
I still need a 4th, don't I?
Phil. Not the famous Mr. Phil, the proper Phil.
So me then.
No.
Proper Phil.
Let's go.
Is this something I have to do for the public? Like, is this a public darts Mount Rushmore, or can I just have this put onto one of the ends of the garden just for me? Because if it's just for me, then I'll just stick Duzzer in that 4th spot, just because it'd be nice to have a statue of him in the garden.
Put Callan on there, because then if the wind blows and his hair gets messed up, you won't be able to tell.
No, I'd use him as a hat stand, mate. I'd keep the hats on him.
I will go Phil Taylor, Sid Waddell, Russ Bray, and I think if you go back to a player, I think it has to be Raymond. I think it has to be Barney or Barry. And that's just for impact they've had on the specific areas.
Yeah,
Phil is the player. Russ is the referee that made refereeing sexy or whatever. Sid is the iconic voice from the sport. And then it's, do you go Barney, who stuck the fork in the BDO and was the first to come over and made it appealing not just for international or European players to come over and compete, but also to go to the PDC as the number 1 choice. That then made them the flagship after years of battling. Barry for the impact of taking on the PDC and pushing it to where it is now. do I agree that Barney's there as the level of talent as a player? Probably not, but what he did
as a contribution to the sport.
Yeah.
See, Josh, you can't have Bevins on the darts Mount Rushmore because he's already on the countdown Mount Rushmore, you see. You can't be on more than one Mount Rushmore.
What rule book saying?
Tri-Nations.
The Tri-Nations rules of Mount Rushmore. Right, hold on. Phil. Proper Phil. Bristow. MVG. Sophie May Lambert.
I'm going to clip that and send it to her.
Just on the corner.
That's it, though. That's the best one.
Rule 1 might just be my 4th one. Like, fuck it.
and again, I'm working on the assumption that statue is going to be at the bottom of the garden. I'm going to get to enjoy the statue. It's not just one that's going to be fucking somewhere out in the Lake District or something for people to hike to.
Big Johnny won a tournament weekend. Well done. Rietberg like to qualify for Lakeside. Good stuff. Cheers for that. A couple of launches coming, manufacturers launching. It's getting to launch season, isn't it? I've seen a couple of bits. I don't think the Target launch is going to be the normal big launch that we usually get because they've kind of launched stuff through the year this year, haven't they?
Everybody seems to, everything that we would normally see on a launch seems to be like slipping out. Like every now and again, you see someone throwing in a new set or someone in a new shirt or someone chucking a new setup, and that's often, and unless we see, and I'm further from it. Yeah, but unless
we saw it here for the first time, and I think that's the way they've gone. They didn't make Phil, but Phil's darts were ready to go summer last year, but he used them in York, despite them not being launched until I think it was January. Or just in time for Christmas, maybe.
You mean the very first set of the new ones that were used on TV?
But it was a case of he used those before the launch because otherwise people weren't going to see them until February.
Yeah.
And there's now a case of traditional launches perhaps don't work or aren't having the impact that they used to because everybody's having a launch. But Barney posted on Twitter going, "Oi, at Target Darts, lots of people asking me about these new beauties. Starts generating interest, and then people can go, right, I'm expecting these. I'll watch that to see how much they're going to be and where I can get them. Where you can get them, there aren't many choices in the world of darts. But as part of that, you tune in to see what else comes along."
Yeah. We forgot Gemma Hayter, debut at the Super Series was sensational. Qualified for Saturday night. Congratulations to Gemma. She played absolutely beautiful.
Yeah. Commiserations for losing on Saturday, though. It's clearly because she has a uterus.
Sean says, did the journo ask about Littler's ex after he got telling off, mate? Yeah. Don't worry about that one. One of the Dutch journalists tried to ask Luke about his ex-girlfriend after he won, but it was...
Yeah, and then a certain pundit that's paid an awful lot of money by Sky today said, "Oh, where are all the haters now?" Well, there still has been a relationship that's come and gone in that duration and uncomfortable periods for Luke and those around him. So it's not all been, "Oh, everyone said it was too soon for him," blah, blah. There's still been issues with the media towards Luke, and just brushing that under the carpet because he's won a tournament every month, I'm not sure is the way I'd be playing that one on socials.
But yeah, no, the guy did get a slap on the wrist. How are we doing, Harry? Hope you are good. I tell you, the chat room's been on fire tonight. Absolutely on.
Busy. Last couple of weeks, it's been plenty busy, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's been absolutely superb. Last question before we go from Adam. Reckon we could see any dart player in I'm a Celebrity this year? Or in general, even if not this year, I think there's one that I'd love to see in there, but the time of the year means it couldn't happen.
You know who? Well,
he's been telling everybody he's going to do it for years anyway.
No, I'd love to see Mardo in there, but
I was going to say it's Wayne is the surely
brilliant at it, but
Wayne's the number one he has to be like sort of, if you were at ITV and you had to find, he's the perfect, because his voice is unbelievably recognisable to the casual fan that's never watched darts. So if you could take my mum who's never watched a darts match before, and I could play 10 seconds of Wayne Mardle commentate and she'd recognise his voice. So he's exactly the sort of person that surely you would want. He's also like decent crack, isn't he? Or he appears to be. I've never met Wayne, but he appears
a shout as well from Adam. I could see Russ
is
doing
a
it.
shout. I think Russ and Phil could do it because I don't think it's as. Look, there are moments, and clearly it is demanding, but I don't think it's as physically demanding as something like Strictly. And I could see Mardle in a pair of tap shoes. He's got the energy. He's got that.
Yeah.
He is. Phil Tufnell's done it before, hasn't he? And Phil's got that little. He's got that swagger about him, the way that he just moves around and whatever. And like Mardle for me is a Strictly contender, whereas a Russ or a Phil who are, look, don't get me wrong, some of the tasks are, but there's not as much physical exertion on.
But would you get, and would you get the price? So I think, and as much as I love darts, I think in that situation, your dart player is sort of your anomaly. They're not your big ticket. They're not commanding that huge salary, are they? Because, that's your, essentially, unfortunately, the world we live in now is that whoever's got the most, Instagram followers, they get paid the most for doing it. And it's whether or not someone like a Phil would be prepared to, for want of a better word, rough it. Like, why would he want to sleep on the floor in shit conditions when he lives in a fucking gorgeous house? Like, why, for let's be honest, money that is maybe one tournament that he's won. Like, if you look at what he's likely to be paid for something like that, it's the equivalent of, like, he's done that in a weekend before. Does he want to go and sleep on the floor in a jungle for 9 weeks to earn that amount of money? Who knows?
Oh, it'll be good. Look, tonight has been an absolute wicked show. I've loved every second of this evening's show. We will be back live tomorrow and Wednesday for the 2 Pro Tour events, so I will keep you up to date with everything. We do have 2 in-depth extended interviews coming out at some point this week. I need to edit them, but we did get to sit down with Matt Porter and, of course, Chris Mason. Both 2 fabulous interviews to come out at some point this week once I have edited them both, but they are to look forward to, that is for sure. This will be available as an audio only in the morning, available from all good podcast providers. So that is that. If you haven't yet, drop us a follow all social media platforms: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Threads. You name it, we are there. We've just hit 38k as well, so we're on the road to 40. We are getting there. But boys, it's been a tremendous show this evening. I've been Phil Bars, Jack Garwood, Dan Simpson. We have been on 9 Darts. We're signing out. We'll see you tomorrow.
Bye.